What's up, my fellow flyers? And it's another time here on FPV RAW. I'm your host here, Ruben Hadegi. And this adventure here, the opener was quick. I'm going to just cut to the fucking bullshit and or cut to the raw material, the meat and potatoes. That way you guys can just, not worry about it. And then it's just wasted time. Listen to all the bullshit ads, just real quick. But I was listening to the Joe Rogan show, which is a really good show to listen to. It's funnier than hell, but, you listen to, 5 minutes of fucking bullshit with goddamn ads, and yeah, the ads pay for the show, and blah, 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 but goddamn it, nobody wants to listen to that shit. You could fast forward it, but I just don't want to do it. Don't want to. So, we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty here. Here on FPV RAW, there's no bullshit. Well, there's a lot of bullshit. Well, I don't know about crazy bullshit. It's mainly bullshit that I usually just kind of goof around and that type of bullshit. But not bullshit where I'm going to cut to the facts and give you the information so you guys can learn from the majority of the information that's out there. And I'm going to put it into kind of little bitty bites that you guys can kind of understand too. So less thinking, just mute everything out and just let me tell you my stories. And this subject here, this topic, I wanted to pick out only because, well, not only because I marked them all down, but this is one that I'm building an aircraft right now. I'm building I was going to say a UAV. I'm building an FPV wing here, and I'm going through the process of it, and just remembering all the steps that I usually do when I build a wing, and sometimes. For me to make a video of it and do all that stuff, I just don't know how, I don't have time to do all that. I don't know how to do it, and to me it just takes up too much time for me to make a video and just record everything and then go edit it and upload it and all that crap. It just takes too much time. Something I'm not that good at because I'd much rather be doing something else, like play video games. Just got a retro Pi that I'm freaking pretty excited about, and yeah. It's taken me back to my high school and sixth grade and elementary school, well, not elementary school, but end of elementary school and middle school and a lot of the high school. I wasn't real popular. I didn't have a lot of friends. My friends were on Nintendo and Super Nintendo. And so playing these games brings back a lot of fun memories of all the adventures that I used to take my characters on and battle demons and monsters. And anyways, it's a total nerd. I know, I can't help it. It's just, I know if you guys are out there, it's Retro Pi. It's a Raspberry Pi 3 Model B. So I put the Retro Pi image on there and just bought a PlayStation 4 remote, and I'm just gaming. It's just fun. It needs a fan. It's getting a little bit hot, and it plays most of the games that I remember from back in the day. Final Fantasy, I played it. Contra, both Contras work, and I am totally sidetracking this motherfucker. All right, okay. So, anyways, big nerd. I love playing video games, and it's a lot of fun. Retro Pi, get one. Search YouTube. But anyways, I'm building an FPV wing, and I'm trying to remember the steps. Well, mentally, it's rhythm for me to do it. It's a pattern that I've adapted, and it just happens. And I just do it. And one thing I do forget to do is record it. And because I don't record it, it just takes so much time for me to do. I would much rather do something else. So me talking into a microphone is a lot easier than me recording it and then editing it and then adding all the stuff. It's just, I don't have time to do it. I probably do, but I would much rather do something else, like play video games or something. You know what I mean? So I just don't. I don't know. Maybe someday if I had help or whatever, or somebody in my area that would want to edit some stuff and they want to be here and watch me build, and that'd be cool. But anyways, the building methods that I do here, I'm building a FPV wing here that's a little bit special. It's going to be a little bit above and beyond anything that I normally do or anything that anyone out there is normally doing. It's a craft that I think it's a juggernaut, but I'm going to make it instead of a 4S, I'm going to make it a 6S. And I take that back. It's not going to be, oh fuck, I gotta upgrade some gear on there. I totally just drew a blank. I forgot I'm running 2 4S's in series, so it's going to be 8S. So I got to make sure I have the right gear, and that's why I'm saying this, and that's why I'm putting this in an episode. I have to double check. Hold on, let me look back here. I got, and I'm not sponsoring anything, but I'm just remembering the stuff that I have. Okay, it is rated for 8S. I don't know why I hit the mic. I don't know why I thought it was going to be 6S, but I'm going to be running 2 4S 3700 milliamp packs in series for 8S, and I'm just sizing up all the gear. And I don't know why I drew a blank, but I was going to put an OSD, but the shitty thing about this is that when you're building an aircraft, let me get the mic a little bit closer. I'm looking up at this craft here. It looks like a goddamn piece of art. I'm just kidding. It's just usually this is what's another thing that's funny too. I'll go to that after this, but I was sizing up the gear and the OSD that when I'm sizing up my craft and figuring out the layout for stuff, I usually forget what OSD and current sensor that can actually take an 8S or a 6S, because even though it says 6S, it's not really rated for 6S, or you're like at the, you're at the peaks, you're at the limits of what the gear is capable of. And so when you exceed that 6S or hit the peaks in amps, you are stressing the system into a possible meltdown on the gear. It gets hot. Just weird stuff starts to happen. Yeah, you can create standalone power systems to kind of output power to specific systems on your craft. It sounds retarded, but check this out. So if I run a standalone BEC power source to the RX, I'm safe. I would always have control with a standalone BEC powering the RX, okay? But it doesn't. I mean, if the OSD is tied into the video, because it's OSD, right, and the current sensor. If I over amp the system or if I exceed my power system, things get hot, and then the VTX, for whatever reason, because I'm at the peak, I'm at the limit of the OSD current sensor and all that good stuff, I might lose video. So I like to stay below. It's like if a 6S, I'd rather run 5S or just below the current. I don't know. That's just a mental thing that I like to do. It's a personal safety thing that I like to do. I don't like to stress my system out to the max. And it's just something that I've grown to adapt. So I think of that stuff. And if I have a part, especially my video fail, that's one thing I usually get panicky about, because I'm like, oh crap. It's no good. You can't see anything, can't control, but at least you have the remote still functional. So if you have a spotter, yeah, it's great. But having an overpowered system, you got to make sure you have all those things checked off. Like, you need a safety checklist to get it done. Yeah, but that's just me personally. I like to run on the edge of caution, or is that right? Or I like to make sure everything is safe. So when you're building an aircraft, you want to make sure you have all this stuff done before. I know the airframe can take it. I've built it. This specific build is a little bit overkill. I'm running safety wire, or safety string on the inside, which I adapted from Crash Test Hobbies build, because they build combat wings and it's meant for head-to-head combat wings. So I adapted some materials that they use, and I've adapted it into my builds. I added some extra spars. I oversized the spars here on this craft for 8S. I added extra sparring on the back end of the motor. I upgraded the motor mount to a thicker material. I'm using a bigger motor, and yeah, so I'm making sure I cover all my ends there. It's just figuring out the actual gear that I'm going to be putting in there. It's tricky, and I usually because it's a very limited. The parts are very limited because not too many people run high voltage systems. So what happens is you're stuck using a certain brand. In my case, it's a Skylark Rock OSD, which is high voltage, and it's a good price. It's not too bad, and there is some other brands that are out there that are rated for 6S, but their amp rating is 100, and so I like to give myself a little bit more leeway or headroom, so I know it's safe. But picking out gear is usually kind of is tricky, especially for me. I might run it line of sight just for right now, but it would be nice to have an OSD. So I might pull the trigger and just get the Rock OSD and then put it in later. I'm not too sure. So there is that. So when I'm designing, the aircraft, I like to make sure I have room. And a lot of the aircrafts that I'm especially the hype aircraft right now are the hardcore. Those are the I would say the hype aircrafts or the one trick ponies. And no disrespect. It's just that's just what I see when I look at an aircraft. It's very limited size. The space you have available, it's not really going to be the ideal aircraft for a lot of the people that are out there, because obviously we want to produce videos, and we don't want standard definition. You can't put a run cam, but it's all right if you do crash. Your run cam is just or destroyed. Or not your run cam, or whatever, the Foxy or whatever. So there's that. You want to make sure you're able to carry everything comfortably. And again, when you're adding extra weight, the aircraft might not be able to handle it. But designing your parts around the aircraft too, and making sure that you have room for everything when you're placing all your gear together on this aircraft. You want to make sure everything works. It's part of the planning process when you do decide to pick up a wing. And this is mainly for a wing, because this is, other wings or other aircrafts are fine, but I'm focused on the wings, but because this is, I like wings. But for this build here, I know that the airframe can handle it, because since, throughout the years, it's proven itself many times, and, it's just me placing all the parts in strategic locations. So I know that the stress on the airframe and the stress on the at high speeds, I know I'm going to have stability in the air and under all that stress. I want to make sure that the frame can handle. So like I said before, I put the safety string on there. If I do crash, it'll hold together a little bit better. The front and the back end has a string. The sparring, the belly spar has 2 spars underneath, 2 really thick spars, and they're stacked on top of each other on the belly. And on the top, there's the main same thickness spar as the bottom, as the 2 bottom ones, but there's one on top. And then I added an extra additional spar on top of that to kind of give it more strength in the midsection. And then if you back up towards the motor mount, which I increased the size, on the left and the right side of the motor itself, spaced it so the motor can operate freely. Well, it's actually not. I'm putting the in-runner on here, so it's a little bit, nothing moves. It's all internal, but it'll be, you want room. So I put extra spars on the left and right side just to kind of give it a little bit more stability. It's almost like when you have a high-powered or high-performance vehicle and you put the struts on the back wheels so it doesn't jump up. You want it to be a little bit more rigid. So stuff like that. I don't know why I do it. Why not? I got extra leftover spars, so I just put it in the back. I also put in an extra additional spars on the left and the right wings for flex. At least the back section of the wings has a little bit more strength. So I add that on this build here. If you guys are ever familiar with building with building wings. The wings themselves, the left and the right side, just has two spars that run the top and the bottom. Normally, you'd want to use something a little bit thicker in terms of sparring, so you get that rigidity, or you get the rigidity, and it doesn't flex. But on this one here, just back behind the leading edge spars, I added some additional supports in there, just to give it a little bit more strength. You don't really need it, but I just wanted to do it just to see how good it would handle. Let's see, what else can I tell you guys about that? The inside of the bays. When I build a wing, what I usually do is I add liquid electrical tape on the inside, or plasti dip. I lay it on the inside of the bays. Any bays that I cut in the raw foam, I'll go ahead and lay some liquid electrical tape or plasti dip on the inside. I'll let it dry. And then once that dries, I'll go ahead and hit the clear goop or shoe goop, wherever you can find it. It's a clear, like a rubber cement material, and I'll lay that on top of the liquid electrical tape or plasti dip, and just it coats it. What happens is that it soaks into the EPP, and when it soaks into the EPP, it turns into a rubbery like substance, and so when you do crash, the substance it flexes. Now picture a dishwasher dish, a dish sponge. It flexes. It's very malleable. Not malleable. Malleable is if we're dealing with metal, but it's very flexible. And if you coat it with this plasti dip or this rubberized material, it makes it even stronger. And so when you crash, the absorption of your impact, or let me back up a little bit. Your crash, all the mass is absorbed through the airframe. You will get a little bit of damage, but it's not going to be devastating to your crash. Now, a lot of the guys who have my builds or who have my kits that have built, they've crashed and like, it held fine. It took it like a champ. And when you go into the higher or more dense EPPs, like the 1.5 or the 1.9 EPP, it's a little bit, it's actually it's a lot more denser and it's a lot heavier. So if you can still do the same methods to that material, but because it's so dense, the impact, it will still break the airframe because it's so hard. It's so, you picture it, imagine it being brittle. The foam is actually now brittle, and can't really give you guys an explanation. It will just pop. And the 1.3 EPP is what I like and like to use the most. It flexes a little bit more. Your framing on the airframe is a lot better. You can add extra stuff depending on what your build will be. But the material on the inside, it flexes and it gives. You can still do 130 plus mile an hour with it, no problem. But it's the impact. It's the dead stop. When you hit the ground, when you hit a tree, the frame gives. And if it was a solid object, it's going to crack. It won't give as much. So that's the thinking, and that's the end result. And with my experience, that's what I've seen. So I'm, if I can kick that information to you, that way you guys have a better understanding. The softer foams are great. I mean, a lot of the flyers out there, they're not going to exceed, there's really not going to be a lot of people out there exceeding 100 miles an hour. I mean, just put it honestly, there really isn't. A lot of guys are going to be cruising around and just having fun with their builds. So having an airframe that is more spongy, but the frame is solid. Now, having that is a lot better option, because if you do crash, you're going to be down less, less repair time, obviously. And the airframe, you can go and fly another day. So you're not at a total loss. It's like if it was EPO and it just gets destroyed. And if any of you know what I'm talking about, an EPO frame will just, it's done. Really nothing you can do about it. But, the designing of this airframe, I figure I would record something for you guys to listen to and kind of give you my take on a build. But supports, I'm taking into account for the amount of stress that I'm putting on this airframe, and so I'm adding extra supports and extra struts. We'll put it that way. Sparring, where I think that there will be a little bit of flex. I'm lacing up the bays with a material that is flexible. If I do crash, it's absorbed. The batteries, I would much rather have. Well, let me reverse this. I thought too fast. I like to use Velcro inside my bays and to hold the bay lids down. I don't like to use grub screws or anything like that, like you will see on the other builds. I would much prefer using Velcro. Reason being, you Velcro your batteries down, you Velcro your lid down, securely. You don't just half-ass it. You put it to where you actually have to force the battery out or force the battery lid open. And so when you crash, I would much rather have the battery be ejected than if it was strapped in. If it's strapped in, when you crash, that mass rips the EPP out, and then you have a hole in your airframe. A battery is is a lot easier to replace. And if you do crash, you're looking at your battery like, I don't know about this thing, but it's not a big deal. I would much rather have the added support in the frame, and the more mass of the object, I would rather have it be ejected out instead of creating a hole in my aircraft. I know the airframe is going to hold, but I would rather have that fly out. The other gear in the inside is not a big deal. Doesn't have that much mass like a LiPo battery. So that's the reason. For the bay lids, I would much rather have the Velcro release the lid and the object on the inside. For the bay, the main bay, I would much rather have the lid come off. It's really easy to go pick up the bay and glue it back on, or if it does peel back and it's being held in by the tape or the laminate, it's easier to put a little bit more glue and lay it back down, and then you're back in business, ready to go. I did a 1-minute video on my Instagram page, just to kind of hit another outlet so you guys can be a little bit more aware, because all the social media outlets, if you think about it, a lot of the people aren't really viewing, they view their particular outlet for news, for feeds and stuff like that. So this is one of them. Instagram is another, Facebook is another one, and YouTube is another one. So, notifying or getting everyone notified about stuff like that is what I'm trying to do, and use those outlets to kind of get more people aware about stuff like this. So, it's discussing, this stuff here and getting it out there so other people can be more familiar with the types of builds, different builds, different gear, different types of flying and stuff like that. It varies with each builder, right? Every builder is not going to build it the same, because I have a different vision in my craft than somebody on the East Coast. Like, they might want to build it, for 3S, and just kind of float it around. Or one guy in somewhere else might want to just do it just for, travel, stuff like that. So it's not always going to be the same. And having the at least having some idea of when to add extra sparring or extra safety cautions or safety precautions in your builds, just to kind of make your airframe last a little bit longer. So creating supports in specific locations might give you a better impact, or not a better, but might give you less of an impact, I guess. Less damage. I guess that's it. Oh yeah, I guess less work to do. Let's put it that way. So if you're having a very light build, you might not need to do this. You can just stay with the basic build. But if you're going a little bit faster, stuff like this, sparring and extra placements of gear and strategically placing your stuff and sparring, like the nose, because that's where the most of the impact is. So stuff like that. That's just one thing I wanted to chat with you guys and tell you guys what's up. The doing it that way is just a lot more better in my eyes. I don't like to use Coroplast on the bottom in the middle bay because Coroplast crushes. It doesn't absorb impact. When it does get damaged, you have a crease, and then you have to rip it out and replace it, and it just looks ugly. Personally, it just looks ugly. I'd rather use the raw material that's part of the frame to make the housing and everything as best as I can. It just makes it looks better. And creating these added chemicals inside the bay gives it more strength and flexibility when you do go down. And the whole point is having an aircraft that'll last with you and be with you a lot longer than just buying something that's cheap and then destroying it, and then you have to go buy another one. So that's why I figure I would do this, because I was building and I wanted to tell you guys something. And if I even throughout the day, I usually tend to forget stuff and I don't write it down because I'll be like in the shower or just, mowing the lawn, picking up dog crap or taking the garbage out. And I'm like, oh, that's like a good idea. But I usually end up forgetting. So, right now I was in the middle of a build. I'm letting the stuff dry or the plasti dip dry. And I figured I'd just record this and let you guys know. So, that's this topic. It's building an FPV wing, and I figure I would throw this in there and give you guys a little bit of knowledge. So with that, I'm going to end it here. And I don't have a video of the week. I just wanted to record this. I didn't look, and I don't want to have you guys wait while I do this. And I didn't want to. This is a one take. I didn't want to do added stuff, but with all the video out there and all the stuff that I can show you guys, I'll put it in another time. But yeah, I'm gonna let you guys go. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of something and stuff that I do, and I put it out there. So with that, I'm gonna let you guys go and enjoy the rest of your day with a little tidbit of knowledge, and hopefully you can implement it into your builds when you do get there. And just make sure you guys tell your friends about me. Put me on the social media if you guys have any friends or whatever that are curious about building. Just let them know. Tell them I'll be here. FPV RAW. And I'm just spreading the good word, guys. So with that, I'm going to let you guys go. Until next time, guys. Peace.